Is this a great game or what? With the Hall of Famer Tim Quirkjian. I'm his son, Jeff Quirkjian. Hey, Dad. Good to catch up with you.
It's great to see you, Jeff. You've shaved mustache and beard. You look like you're 14 years old now, even though you're 32, but it's quite all right. You look great.
I appreciate it, Dad. Our family's been a little bit under the weather this weekend. And I just feel like when I finally start to get better, I take a long shower. I cut it all off on the beard and just try to start anew.
Yeah.
And so I'm finally feeling a little bit better, but I'm so stoked because of where we are in the playoffs right now. That's the only thing keeping my head up every single evening.
Jeff, it's great. So Monday night, I covered my 25th Game 7 of my career. And again, Jeff, without being corny, am I the luckiest guy in the world that I've covered 25 Game 7s? I went back and looked at every Game 7 I ever covered. I can vividly recall every one of the 25. And the latest one was just, the whole series was just so great. And again, Jeff, without being corny, what really strikes me when I go to these huge games is I walk through the crowd now after games. I didn't get to used to do that normally. And I see the fans and I recognize again, Jeff, how important this is to them, that they went to a Game 7 or a Game 6 in Seattle. Jeff, when I walked through that crowd in Game 6 at T-Mobile Park in Seattle, I walked past hundreds and hundreds of fans, and there were fathers and sons there together, and fathers and daughters, 7 years old, and they went to the game with their dad or their mom, and they're never going to forget that the rest of their lives, that they were there the night that Cal Raleigh hit the home run. They were there the night that Eugenio Suarez hit the biggest home run in the history of the Mariners. And same thing with Blue Jay fans. I mean, walking through the Rogers Center and seeing all those people, absolutely maniacal baseball fans about the Blue Jays, it just warms my heart that not just what I do for a living actually matters, but this game is so great and it's so beautiful that people care deeply about their team. And Toronto is a better place to live when the Blue Jays are this good. Seattle is a better place to live when the Mariners are this good. It was just breathtaking to watch the entire series, as imperfect as it was. It was fascinating at every turn, and there were turns all the way through it.
Ain't that the truth, Dad? I mean, I have to admit, having one series as a sweep and one series go to 7 games, it kind of messes with your mind a little bit, because now heading into the World Series, you've got a team that's been hanging out for a little while and a team that pretty much just finished a very intense 7 games. And I think that's going to really play into the dynamic when the Dodgers take over again the world on Friday during the World Series. It's going to be a really great
We have a theory as baseball writers, Jeff, that if you're going to play 6 games, we're going to take a travel day and we're going to travel again. They took a red-eye flight from Seattle to Toronto. If we're going to play 6, then we have to play 7. Like, those are the rules. 6. We've had some of the greatest Game 6s of all time, including Joe Carter in this ballpark with the home run to end the 93 World Series. But if you're going to go 6, we got to go 7, and we went 7 in this series. And the series, of course, was won by the Toronto Blue Jays, Jeff. And I can't even begin to tell you how impressed I was by the Blue Jays in this postseason. Keep in mind, they finished in last place in their division last year. And John Schneider, their really affable and smart manager, told us that he walks to the ballpark some days, and other days he drives to the ballpark. And he got a little superstitious that after losing, the 2 games here, 1 and 2, that he was going to walk to the ballpark for Game 6. And he got a bunch of, hey, good to see you, good luck, and all that stuff. He said, last year, I drove to the ballpark an awful lot because not every
didn't want to come face to face with fans.
Not everyone was going to be happy, but the Blue Jays won for a bunch of reasons. Number one, Jeff, they can really hit. And when I say hit, Jeff, they batted 265 as a team during the regular season. That was the highest average in Major League Baseball. And even though we don't pay attention to that, I do. I think it's important. It means they put the ball in play, unlike most teams. Jeff, they scored more runs than they had strikeouts in their 11 games. That's almost impossible to do in this day and age where the strikeout rate is unbelievably high. They put the ball in play. And of course, leading the way is Vlad Guerrero Jr., who had one of the greatest postseasons, at least leading into the World Series, that I know I've ever seen. It just included power. He barely struck out. It was remarkable. As Miles Straw of the Blue Jays told me, he said, Vladdy has power and Vladdy is a pest. Now it's hard to be both, Jeff. You know, if you're 5'5" like me or 5'6" like you, your only hope is to be a pest at the plate. But when you're 6'2", 240 like Vladdy, and you've got great power and you're fouling off pitches and not striking out, that's really impressive. And the other thing about him, Jeff, is people look at him and still think that he's some heavyset, overweight, unathletic first baseman, and nothing could be further from the truth. I watched him play first base 11 straight games, and man, can he play that position defensively. He's already won a Gold Glove. He's a Gold Glove finalist this year. He's also faster than most people think he is, because I saw him score from second on a single. And Jeff, if you think you could beat him in a race, you've got to be kidding me, because he can run. And he's a very instinctive player. He's got a great feel for the game. Of course, he should, because his father is Vladimir Guerrero Sr., who's a Hall of Famer. So in the famous throw that Addison Barger made from right field to third base to cut down Josh Naylor, a critical out in Game 4, that was Vlad Guerrero pointing, throw it to third, not throw it to the plate. So he's a very instinctive player. He's a really good player. And yet I was taken even more by Ernie Clement, the second baseman, third baseman, utility infielder, everyday player who didn't hit the homers that Vlad Guerrero did, but was almost as productive. Talk about a pest at the plate. He swings at pitches all the time. We asked him, like, where does that come from? You swing it all the time, put the ball in play. And I think we can all appreciate this, Jeff. He played coach pitch the first year, and the rules were you get 3 pitches. That's it. And so you're up there to swing. His dad told him, hey, you're only getting 3 pitches. You got to swing at something. So Ernie Clement went up there hacking away, which I just love. And we got to repeat, Jeff, Ernie Clement plays with a glove that he bought on eBay. We can't say that enough times, because it still just absolutely dazzles me that this is where he is. And someday he's going to make a lot of money playing this game. But more important, he's getting a lot of respect as a guy who can really hit and really play defense.
Yeah, Dad, I think that clip on social media blew up of you talking about him getting the glove off of eBay. And a lot of people were saying, hey, sometimes players don't want that stiff glove. They want somebody to do the work for them and have it already broken in. I love that
It's so great. So the Blue Jays go to the World Series for the first time since 93. They won back-to-back 92, 93. And this is the fourth team ever in a full season to win a best-of-7 series, having lost the first 2 games at home. So congratulations to the Blue Jays, and they are off to play the Dodgers.
It's an exciting time for all these fan bases, and I'm so looking forward to Friday for a World Series matchup. It's going to be just amazing. Well, speaking of the World Series matchup, Dad, in our takeaways, the series that seems to have ended months ago at this point, the Dodgers and the Brewers, a sweep, 4 games, incredible pitching. I won't take your thunder. Dodgers takeaways.
Well, I talked to one of the Dodger guys at the beginning of the playoffs, and he said, look, we didn't play very well this year. We weren't the best team this year, but he said, we have the best run value roster. That's a sabermetric term, a deep analytics term, the best run value roster of all time in the history of baseball. And it's hard to explain that, but I listened to him. And since then, they went 9-1. The Dodgers did in the playoffs. They had a 2.45 ERA, way lower for the starting pitchers who were virtually unhittable in 3 rounds of the playoffs, the wild card, the LDS, and the LCS. 92 innings pitched, Jeff, in this postseason, 56 hits allowed. That's absurd.
Wow.
38 walks
That's
and
insane.
104 strikeouts. This is some of the best starting pitching that we've ever seen. And what they did to the Brewers was just unfair. All right. The Brewers, Jeff, let's understand, had the best record in Major League Baseball. They are gritty. They are grinders. Every at bat for them is a fist fight, and they got absolutely overwhelmed by the Dodgers pitching, specifically in the rotation. 4 games, Jeff. The Brewers scored a total of 4 runs. They got a total of 14 hits. They struck out 41 times in 4 games, and they batted as a team 118. That's how dominant. The only comparable is the 1906 hitless wonders, the Chicago White Sox, who played the Cubs in the 1906 World Series. And in their first 4 games, it was very similar to what the Brewers went through. But miraculously, the White Sox came back to win that World Series in 6 games over the crosstown Cubs. The difference is the hitless wonders, Jeff, for the season, batted .230 and hit 7 home runs. 7 home runs the whole year. So that explains how they could get shut down in the early 1900s by good pitching. You go 120 years later, it's just remarkable what the Dodgers did to the Brewers. And you were watching, Jeff, the team that beat your team, the Phillies. I mean, any Philly fan can look at this and say, well, we got steamrolled because they're steamrolling everyone. Agreed?
Pitching wins in October. We've heard this a million times, Dad, and people are complaining, oh, well, if the bats aren't, you can't think about it your team's bats. You got to think about it your team's inability to hit the pitchers. They're 2 different things, believe it or not. And if we've said it once, Dad, we've said it a million times on this podcast, pitching is as good now as it's ever been.
Well, the stuff that we see now is just so unbelievably good. And speaking of unbelievable, Jeff, what Shohei Ohtani did, and we're like 5 days late on this, so we're not going to belabor this, but I think we have to say without hesitation that his 3-homer game in Game 4 of the LCS was the greatest game ever played by a player in the history of the sport.
Ever.
Because, Jeff, 3 homers in a game has only been done once by a pitcher in the modern era. That's 1900. Guy Hecker did this in the 1800s, but 1942, Jim Tobin hit 3 home runs in one game as a pitcher. He almost hit a 4th in that game, by the way. And the game before, he hit a home run as like a pinch hitter, I believe. So he almost hit 5 homers in like 6 at bats. It was some absurd number that Jim Tobin did. But of course, Shohei Ohtani hit 3 homers and, more important, pitched 6 scoreless innings and struck out 10. So, immediately you start wondering, has there ever been a greater game played? And because it's the postseason, Jeff, it's not just the postseason. This was a pennant clinching game. Granted, it was 3-1. It wasn't a 3-0 at the time. It wasn't a game 7, but my goodness, 3 homers, 6 scoreless, 10 strikeouts. You agree? It almost by definition has to be the greatest game ever played by anyone.
Dad, you know how many text messages I got during that game saying, are you and your dad just exploding right now, including our friend John Gay? He could not believe what he was watching. And you know what I was seeing, Dad? People were creating Mount Rushmore of sports, right? You've got Gretzky, you've got Brady, you've got Jordan, and then you've got Shohei. Is that correct?
Well, again, Jeff, I'm in a slightly different camp here. I'm an old man, and I grew up to stories of Babe Ruth, so I'm still not ready to put Shohei over Babe Ruth because Babe Ruth did it for 20 years. It was a great pitcher. But what Shohei's doing, he's the most remarkable player ever. He soon will be the greatest player ever. So I'm not going to get into this debate because then I become a bitter, old, cynical old man. I'm just saying we've never seen anybody like him. And we will never see anybody like him again, ever. So I got asked, is this the greatest game ever played? Well, again, it's debatable, I guess. I mean, Rick Wise in 1971 pitched a no-hitter and hit 2 homers in a no-hitter. That's pretty hard to do. Tony Cloninger in 1966 pitched a complete game, gave up 3 runs, but he hit 2 grand slams and drove in 9 runs in one game. That's pretty hard to do. But to repeat, this was done on the highest level, the NLCS, against a great Brewer team facing pitching that people have never seen before. And he hit 3 homers, one of the longest home runs I've ever seen in my life. So I don't think there's any way around this. Shohei is, he's the greatest player I've ever seen. But in baseball history, you still have to include Babe Ruth in this equation because of the longevity for which he played.
No doubt, Dad. And I was funny on Twitter. I saw somebody write, I don't like baseball. Maybe they're just being funny or silly. Describe this to me in golf terms. And so somebody wrote back and said, shooting 63 at the Masters in the final Sunday, 12 holes right-handed, 6 holes left-handed. Because, I mean, there's no offense, defense, you know, there. So the comparison obviously doesn't make any sense. But in reality, basically they're saying he's the best left-handed and right-handed golfer in the game right now.
Right. It's pretty amazing. You know, I told you that Jim Cott, Hall of Fame baseball player, shot his age. He shot like 78 at age 80, twice in a week, once playing left-handed and once playing right-handed. I find that just astonishing.
Right.
But I've never thought of the golf comparison, but it would be, it's almost like the best of, it's like Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods, like alternating shots, and they end up shooting like a 59 together. I mean, that's what it would be like on the golf. I don't know golf well enough, but that was absurd what Shohei did. And you should have seen the players that I talked to on the Blue Jays, Kevin Gossman and Ernie Clement, and asked them about Shohei, and they just shake their head like he doesn't even count. Like it's not even fair. It's like it's too ridiculous to even be true. That's the kind of respect. That's how revered Shohei is wherever he goes in the big leagues. It's just astonishing.
All right, Dad. Well, coming up next here on Is This a Great Game or What? We'll jump into the Quirkjians on this date in baseball history and maybe a couple Team Tims. Coming up next. Welcome back to Is This a Great Game or What, Dad? What Quirkjians do you have throughout the LCS?
Well, I got a lot of mail on this one. Shohei, of course, hit a first inning home run as a pitcher. Okay, now just think about that for a second. Since the pitcher, when he used to bat, we don't bat pitchers anymore except for Shohei, would always hit ninth. So it's the second time in the history of the postseason that a pitcher has hit a first inning home run. Lou Burdett did so in the 1958 World Series for the Milwaukee Braves. And Shohei has hit a home run as a pitcher in the first inning 6 different times. And people were wondering, how many pitchers have ever hit one in the first inning? You know, you gotta bat around in order for the pitcher to hit a home run. So I remember Randy Lersch hit one in 1979 for the Phillies, but then I called Frank from the Elias to get the full list, and there were like a lot of them. But since 2000, Carlos Zambrano did it once, and Robert Person did it in 2002. So it's still rather odd, but it has been done. It just doesn't sound right, Jeff. The pitcher hit a home run in the first inning, but when it's Shohei, it's completely understandable. And of course, he did it as a leadoff hitter. And then Julio Rodriguez really stuck out to me as such. Well, he's a great kid. Everybody knows that. But I met someone who works with him with Adidas, and he has 16 pair of baseball spikes in his locker, all of them different styles and colors. 16. Jeff, I don't think you have 16 pairs of shoes. Agreed?
No, not even. I don't even think I have half that.
Right.
Many.
He's got 16 pairs of spikes that he wears. And in one of the games in the LCS, he changed his spikes halfway through the game, and he changed his glove halfway through the game. I'm not sure I've seen too much of that where a guy changes his shoes and his glove during a baseball game. Another guy that really stuck out for me is Andres Jimenez of the Blue Jays, who I believe, I hope I don't exaggerate here, is the greatest defensive player at any position in the major leagues right now. The way he has become a great defensive shortstop when he was the best defensive second baseman in the game is just amazing to me. And he hit 19, he started 19 games this year, Jeff, as a cleanup hitter, and 34 games, including a bunch in the playoffs, as the 9-hitter. Does that strike you as odd? You hit fourth.
Odd placement for sure.
You hit fourth and you hit ninth. So I asked Frank, and Frank, or his brother John, found 7. It's one of 7 players ever to have 15 games in the cleanup, start 15 games in the cleanup spot and start 15 games in the number 9 spot. And he was tremendously productive out of the number 9 spot for the Blue Jays. And that's kind of the secret of their team, is just how they got production from 1 through 9 in that order. So those are the Quirkjians.
Excellent. Well done, Dad. What about on this date in baseball history, October the 21st?
Well, on this date, Carlton Fisk hit his famous stay fair home run in Game 6 of the 75 World Series against the Reds, 12th inning off of Pat Darcy. Let's see if you can remember, Jeff, the movie that references has a great reference to Carlton Fisk's famous home run.
I mean, it's not Field of Dreams.
No.
It's not. Is it the movie
with
apples? Billy Crystal?
Apple?
Oh my gosh, that's right. Good Will Hunting.
Yes. Remember, Robin Williams had tickets to Game 6 in 75, and he met his future wife, and he gave up the tickets, and Will Hunting
I had to go see about a girl.
Not understand. I got to go see about a girl. He stole my line. How about that? All right. On this date in 1998, the Yankees finished their sweep of the Padres, and I'll never forget, after 2 games, the World Series goes to San Diego, and I'm walking up the runway, just me and Tony Gwynn. How lucky am I? And Tony looks at me because he knows I've seen the Yankees a lot, and he hasn't, because, the Padres Yankees. And he just looked at me and asked, I think rhetorically, are they this good? And I had to tell him, Tony, they are this good. I mean, when you start thinking about, this is the greatest teams of all time, 27 Yankees, all this, you got to include the 98 Yankees, at least in the discussion. That's how great they were. I mean, Scott Brocious hitting 9th, drove in over 90 runs. It was an amazing team. And on this date in 98, they swept. And speaking of the Yankees, on this date in 1928, Whitey Ford was born. Whitey Ford, Jeff, finished with a winning percentage of .690. So he won almost 70% of his decisions. He has the highest winning percentage of any 200-game winner in the history of the game. He's the greatest number 16 of all time, which we pointed out in From Ozzy to Oral. He won 10 World Series games, Jeff. A lot of franchises have never won 10 World Series games. He won 10 all by himself. He was really, really good. And finally, our only birthday is in 1984, Daniel Herrera was born. Now, Daniel Herrera, Jeff, I get such a kick out of this, I should, but he's like 5'6", okay? And he weighed 145 pounds, a little left-handed pitcher. And he got traded to the Reds. And Adam Dunn, who was one of our first guests on the podcast this year, I said, Adam, when you saw Daniel Herrera for the first time when he walked in the clubhouse, what did you think? And he said, well, I thought it's unfortunate that we're going to lose him for the weekend series because he has to go race in the Kentucky Derby. That's how small Daniel
Right.
Herrera is, and yet he had a heart as big as can be. He's a very artistic kid, Jeff. He does artwork now in retirement that is really breathtaking to watch. And I once asked him, what, like knowing all about being the littlest guy on the field and the littlest guy in class and the littlest guy anywhere, I said, what is the funniest little guy thing that's ever happened to you in a major league uniform? So he said, when I was in the minor leagues, our bullpen catcher picked me up and put me on his knee. We're both in uniform. Get this. And he put his hand up underneath my jersey in the back and pretended that we were doing a ventriloquist show and I was the dummy and he was.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, everyone, including Daniel Herrera, was laughing out loud that this guy was big enough to pick up a teammate, put his hand up his back, and pretend that he's the dummy in a ventriloquist act. And that's Daniel Herrera, who you look at him and you think, you're a major league player. How can that be? Another reminder, Jeff, game is open to all shapes and sizes. Another reason it is so beautiful.
And Dad, speaking of birthdays, I have a bit of a Team Tim for you that I've put together, and I'm actually really excited to share it with you. Are you ready?
I am ready, Jeff. Can't wait. This is a surprise.
So I've put together a list of my all-October birthday World Series winning Team Tim.
Really?
So each one of these players was born in October, hence the best month of the year for baseball fans, if your team makes it. And all of these players have won a World Series. Are we ready?
Yes. Jeff, I love your creativity here.
Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm really excited to share this with everybody. All right. We're going to start at catcher. And I put Jimmy Fox as my catcher. Okay. Stay with
Jimmy
me.
Fox
I know
caught more than one game in the major leagues. I got it.
Over 100 games. Right. I checked over 100 games behind the plate. Not his primary position, understood, but I got a little desperate because also my first baseman is Mark McGwire.
All right, very good. And by the way, Jeff, when we used to play APBA, Uncle Matt, Uncle Andy, and I, Uncle Matt would always have the all-time team, okay? And we would all get advantages because we can't match up with the all-time team. But he used to use Jimmy Fox as his catcher. And I used to say, Matt, you can't do that. He wasn't a catcher. And he said, yes, he was. And I said, but he was a primary first baseman. So yes, Jimmy Fox behind the plate, very much, I'm all in. It's great. And Mark McGwire at first, yes, great postseason player.
It definitely got a little tricky from here, but anybody with corrections, please feel free to do so. I put Robinson Cano as my second baseman, 2009 world champion with the Yankees. I put Joe Sewell as my third baseman, who won 100 years ago in 1920 and again in 1932.
What's Joe Sewell's distinction, Jeff, in baseball?
Help me. I don't know.
Struck out
remember.
3 times one season in over
that's
500 plate pitch. Hall of Famer Joe Sewell. Okay.
My shortstop is 3-time, potential 4-time World Series champion Mookie Betts.
Oh, pretty good.
It came up into the league as a shortstop, then wasn't, now is again. So, and then my left fielder, this one was tough, and you won't believe how hard it was for me to find a left fielder born in October who won a World Series. But I decided to go with Juan Soto, who perhaps maybe had one of the best World Series runs for a player of that age in history. So he is a World Series champion, born in October. Thoughts on that choice?
I love it. And he hit cleanup in a World Series game at age 20. That's pretty hard to do.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
My center fielder, Dad, arguably one of the best of all time.
Mickey Mantle?
Correct. Good job.
I don't know Mickey Mantle's birthday, but I do know he shares it with one of our guests this year.
Oh, gosh. Help me. Steve Sparks? No.
This guy wore number 7 as part of his uniform no matter what because he shared a birthday. This guy wore number...
Oh, Keith Hernandez?
Keith Hernandez wore number 17,
October the
number
20th.
37 because he couldn't get 7 for either the Cardinals or the Mets. So he took 17 for the Mets, 37 with the Cardinals as a tribute to Mickey Mantle.
And it was tough leaving our beloved Keith Hernandez off this list. He has October 20th is his birthday, but when you put Mark McGwire at first, it's really hard. So I'm going to put, even though designated hitter, maybe I put Keith Hernandez as my DH because I don't have one. Well, I do have one on my list, but we'll get there.
Let's put Keith Hernandez at first and Mark McGwire as the DH. If you're going to do that.
All right, there you go. Despite the National League.
Going.
Yeah, good idea. Keith Hernandez will be my first baseman. Right fielder is Dave Winfield.
Right.
And my designated hitter as of now is Mark McGwire / Rafael Devers. I have Rafi as my designated hitter. I thought it was fitting given the drama of not or possibly playing DH.
Jeff, I love it.
Pretty great.
I love it. You worked really hard. How long did it take you to do that?
Oh, I'm not even done. We don't forget about my pitchers.
I know. I wasn't implying you're done. I'm still impressed with how you got to this point.
It took me a long time. In fact, you can see how many times I crossed stuff out because I had to double check if somebody actually won a World Series. Because I started with just October birthdays, but then I said, that's too easy. I got to make this more fun. Okay, so in my pitching staff, I just listed a bunch of pitchers, but Pedro Martinez, one of my pitchers, Jim Palmer, former guest of the show, 3-time champion there, and then the aforementioned, you already listed his birthday on this, not on this date, but in Whitey Ford, part of my pitching staff. I also put, just because I grew up a Boston Red Sox fan because of my grandfather, I put Keith Folk in there, perhaps one of the greatest final outs in the history of that organization.
Final out of the 2004 World Series in St. Louis. It was amazing.
Huge. And then Dennis Eckersley.
There you go. The Eck.
That is my Team Tim for October birthdays, who also won a World Series.
Jeff, that is great. And at the risk of trying to top you, I just have to use this now just in case, okay? Joe Ostermeyer, one of our really good listeners and viewers from sports writer from St. Louis. Boy, does he know a lot of stuff about baseball. He said, Tim, you got to do the all-Scrabble team, okay? Now,
the all-Scrabble team?
Yeah, so I came up with it because every time I look at Ichiro's name, I see a Scrabble board, okay? Because your grandmother, my mother, Nena, loved Scrabble. She was a great Scrabble player. I used to play with her almost until the day she died. That's how much she loved Scrabble. So I looked at Ichiro and I looked at Julio Rodriguez, 2 Mariners who I got to watch every day for 7 games. I said, all right, there are a ton of points in there for a Scrabble game. So Joe insisted that I do this. So now I'm not going for the most possible points, okay? I'm just looking at names that kind of look like something that you might see on a Scrabble board, just a collection of letters. My catcher is my favorite name and my favorite nickname of all time in baseball history. Doug Goosh is my catcher. You remember the name, Jeff? I've used this before. It's GWOSDZ. What is his nickname, Jeff?
Isn't he called the eye test?
Eye chart.
The eye chart.
You put your hand over your eye. It's like looking at an eye chart. GWOSDZ. And there's some great letters in there for Scrabble. Not the biggest numbers. I think I have them later on our list here. The first baseman is and you brought this up to me. I think it's true. I'm not positive. The longest name in baseball history. It's got a hyphen in it, but you were the one that brought this up to me. Do you remember it? Christian Encarnacion hyphen Strand.
Oh,
all right.
Yes, that's right.
I only use that because there are that many letters in it. Played first base for the Reds. Not much this year, but yes. So he's my first baseman. Mark Grudzielanek. Always loved that name. He's got a Z in it and a U in it. Grudzielanek, Grudzie. Jose Ramirez. Any name that has a Z in it has a chance to really run up some points at Scrabble because it's a 10-letter. It's a 10-point letter, the Z. Ozzie Smith is the shortstop because we got double Z's, Ozzie. And then the aforementioned Ichiro Suzuki and Julio Rodriguez, plus Carl Yastrzemski. A lot of points in there. With
I knew he had to be on the list.
And look,
can you even get Yastrzemski from left to right on the board?
Yeah,
though? There's too many letters.
Just imagine doing that. And before I get to the two pitchers, which is my favorite part, some guy I looked up on the internet, so I cheated to some degree on this. I'm covering the League Championship Series. I don't have all day to come up with the all alphabet team, but some guy came up with the all Scrabble team in which the first and last name of the player is an actual Scrabble word. So the first one I looked at, I stopped looking because I was too embarrassed that he had come up with something way better than what I did. But Mark Grace is his first baseman. Grace is a word, and Mark is a word. Two words that could be used on a Scrabble board. That was pretty darn clever. I wish I remembered his name, but it was pretty cool. My first pitcher is Mark Zebczynski, and you spell it RZEPCZYNSKI. According to my math, he's got 41 points out of his name on a Scrabble board. And my reliever is, and my other pitcher, he's also a reliever, is Rob Zastryzny. You remember him, Jeff? Remember, he pitched this year for the Brewers and still a quality left-handed reliever. Remember, he's the guy that I talked to about his crazy. He's got 37 points with his Scrabble name. Pretty darn good. But he's the guy who told me once that he pitched in some like high school game or something like that, and they were on the road, and the poor public address guy had to keep announcing him, and he butchered his name so badly the first 3 times he came to the plate that the 4th time he just said, and now batting Rob Smith, because he wasn't about to mess with Rob Zastryzny again. So that's my all Scrabble team, inspired by Ichiro Suzuki and Julio Rodriguez, who I got a good look at. I mean, Ichiro was there every day, Jeff, running sprints in the outfield, stretching. It was just amazing. He's already in the Hall of Fame, but it's still part of his daily routine to stay in unbelievable shape and run in the outfield and do all sorts of stuff. It was really impressive watching Ichiro work, even though he's already in the Hall of Fame.
Ichiro, October birthday.
There you go.
No World Series.
There you go.
This is where I had a lot of trouble, Dad. There were some really great October birthdays that didn't win a World Series, and I was devastated to leave them off my list.
Team Jeff.
I had a lot of fun putting that together.
Team Jeff this week. Pretty impressive, Jeff. I'm proud of you. You're really developing some creativity learned from Pop. I just don't want you to go too far and then just become a pathetic old man like me who spends all day looking up the all-Scrabble team in Major League history.
Well, Dad, I'm so glad we had a chance to put this show together, and we're so looking forward to a World Series that's coming up this Friday night. Will be the first, and Dad, you will cover your how manyth?
The first one was now? I've covered them all since '81, so this will be great. I can't wait. The LCSs were my LCS was absolutely fabulous, and now we're on to the World Series, and I'll be working for baseball tonight. We'll be doing pre and post every day. It's going to be great. I'll be all over the place. I'll be writing. It'll be so much fun.
You want to see something weird,
Yeah.
Dad? Look behind me.
Oh my gosh! We're moving. You're moving, so you took all the stuff out of the office.
Yeah, all of our set pieces here at the Is This a Great Game or What studios has been packed away and stored in the garage until we move the first week of November. We close on our brand new house on November the 6th, and then we have 2 weeks and we'll set up a brand new studio in the new basement, which is going to be great. And I've heard the heating is a little bit better than what I have in this house. So I'm sure you're more excited. And the best news, Dad, there's a basement bathroom. So you and I don't have to run upstairs and pee between the Quirkjians and on this date in baseball history.
Yeah. Just pause it, Jeff. I gotta go. I'll be right back.
If there's one thing I've inherited besides your voice, it's the size of your bladder.
Unfortunately,
you and I both.
Yes,
interrupting records to go pee really
Terrible.
fast.
Absolutely terrible. All right, Jeff.
All right.
We'll talk at the World Series, okay?
Yes, we will, Dad. I love you so much. Keep traveling. I know it hurts being away from home, but you are so blessed to be calling these great games. You did an excellent job with Carl and Eduardo. Big shout out to them for being our guests last week and just totally pummeling you interview style. But you guys did a great job on ESPN Radio, and I'm just so happy for what you're getting a chance to do. And have fun at the World Series.
All right, Jeff. Thanks so much. See you soon.
And thanks so much for being a part of our family.